Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all you comic book enthusiasts out there, get ready to stretch your minds and expand your knowledge as we delve into the marvelous world of Mr. Fantastic, the leader of the Fantastic Four. Have you ever wondered what makes Mr. Fantastic tick? How does he manage to stretch his body to incredible lengths and perform mind-boggling contortions? Well, wonder no more, because in this video, we are going to take a deep dive into the anatomy of Mr. Fantastic and explore the science behind his superhuman abilities. From his elastic skin to his super strong muscles, we will uncover the secrets of his fantastic physique and examine the unique adaptations that have given him the power to stretch, bend, and twist like no other superhero before him. So sit back, relax, and get ready to have your mind blown as we explore the incredible anatomy of Mr. Fantastic. Whether you're a die-hard fan of Fantastic Four or just a curious bystander, this video is guaranteed to stretch your understanding of what it means to be truly fantastic. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Iron Man, listen to me. We need to access your mainframe.
Regis, get out of here.
How does Mr. Fantastic stretch his body parts? Well, it's really simple, folks. Mr. Fantastic's body is made up of trillions of super elastic cells that can stretch, compress, and deform his body into any shape he can imagine. It's like having a bunch of tiny rubber bands inside of him that he can manipulate at will. At a basic level, Mr. Fantastic's body is made up of malleable muscle cells that are nearly indestructible. These cells are capable of expanding and contracting down to the cellular level, which allows him to stretch and compress his body into any shape or size he can imagine. When Mr. Fantastic stretches his body, every part of his body that is stretching behaves as if it were not in an elastic state. That means if he stretches his hand, the finger and hand bones stretch along with the other muscles and skin of the hand. This is how he's able to stretch his body parts without them breaking or tearing. But stretching his body to such extreme lengths can cause stress on his body, and the greater the lengths he stretches to, the more it takes its toll. In fact, there have been instances where Mr. Fantastic has suffered injuries due to overstretching his body. In addition to his incredible stretching abilities, Mr. Fantastic is also one of the world's most intelligent individuals. He is well versed in nearly all scientific fields known to mankind, as well as certain extraterrestrial disciplines. His specialties of study and actual work lay in such fields as robotics, aviation, and quantum physics. He holds thousands of patents for his inventions and discoveries, which include the creation of unstable molecules that allow the Fantastic Four to utilize their specialized abilities. And Mr. Fantastic's abilities do not stop at stretching his body. He can also deform, expand, or compress his entire body or parts into any contiguous shape he can imagine for a variety of uses. For example, he can stretch his body to cover a larger area to shield his teammates from harm, or compress himself to fit into tight spaces. On top of that, Mr. Fantastic can also alter his basic physical features to take on the appearance of any other man with similar hair and skin tone. He can even increase his size and mass density to bulk up his body to thing-like proportions while increasing his strength to the same levels. But let us not forget the downside of his abilities. As mentioned before, stretching his body can cause stress and injuries. Additionally, in some storylines, Mr. Fantastic struggles with his identity and his ability to connect with others due to his unique abilities. How far can Mr. Fantastic stretch? Mr. Fantastic, the man who can stretch his limbs to inhuman lengths and basically be a human rubber band. While his powers originally had a more horrific look and were quite painful for him to maintain, he has come a long way since then. Nowadays, he can easily shapeshift into all sorts of weird shapes, like parachutes and shields, with no ill effects. But what about his stretching limits? Well, it turns out he can stretch up to 1,500 feet before his muscles give out, which is about the length of 5 football fields. However, villains like Dr. Doom have tried to forcibly stretch him beyond his limits, which is just simply nasty. Interestingly, Mr. Fantastic has been known to exceed his normal stretching limit with the help of external cosmic power sources, like when Galactus supercharged the Fantastic Four's abilities in Marvel Adventures Fantastic Four, issue number 48. At one point, his body stretched so wide that he could be seen from space. Talk about stretching yourself thin. But it's not just about stretching long distances. Mr. Fantastic can also use his elastic form to entangle and restrain opponents efficiently. And when he needs to get somewhere quickly, he can move at great speeds by stretching to his destination. It may not be as fast as Thor's lightning or Iron Man's jets, but it's certainly speedy enough to save someone from a split-second accident. Mr. Fantastic has the ability to change his shape rapidly, usually taking only a few seconds to do so, but this may vary depending on how complex the form he takes is. He can easily return to his original humanoid shape as quickly as he transformed. However, the farther he stretches his body, or the larger he becomes, the weaker his strength becomes. Mr. Fantastic may not be one to dodge bullets with fancy footwork, but his body can take a hit like a champ. Even if caught off guard by a barrage of machine gun fire, his flexible form can absorb the impact through some serious shape-shifting skills. Talk about a creative dodge. Now, as for the question of how his body works, it's a bit of a head-scratcher. If we assume his body is like a computer program's rendering, then the speed of his frame progression would be beyond our comprehension. And what if he is actually moving relativistically, but in reverse? So he moves through all these tiny bits in what seems like a sensible time to him, but happens essentially outside time to the outside world. Who knows, it's all nonsense anyway. But one thing is for sure, Mr. Fantastic has the ability to convert the real points in his body into the complex points that relate to it in the larger field in which it exists and then snap back to real, either exactly or close enough that we can't tell. And if we combine this with a fractal conception of area, we can generate infinite but patterned vastness within a given area, making it possible for him to stretch and contort his body in all sorts of ways. So how far can Mr. Fantastic stretch? The answer is that it's hard to say for sure, as his abilities are limited only by his imagination and the external cosmic power sources he has access to. But whether he is stretching long distances, grappling with villains, or experimenting with his transformation abilities, there is no denying that Mr. Fantastic is one of the most unique and versatile superheroes out there.
There. If there's a surge in cosmic radiation anywhere on the planet.
How smart is Reed Richards? To put it simply, Reed Richards is so smart that even the most intelligent people on Earth look like a bunch of kindergartners with toy blocks next to him. He is a walking encyclopedia of scientific knowledge, with a brain that can process complex equations and theories faster than most people can read a paragraph. His IQ is so high that it is practically a superpower in itself, and his inventions are so advanced that they make Tony Stark's Iron Man suits look like outdated technology from the Stone Age. He possesses a vast range of knowledge across various scientific disciplines, including aerospace engineering, biochemistry, chemistry, communications, computers, electrical engineering, electronics, energy generation, holography, mechanical engineering, mutations, physics, robots, spectral analysis, synthetic polymers, and more. Reed Richards' intelligence is not just limited to Earth-based sciences. He is also an expert on other dimensions and the methods of traveling through them. He has even been shown to have more knowledge than some of the most highly advanced alien civilizations in the universe. He is a visionary theoretician and an inspired machinesmith who has made breakthroughs in fields such as extra-dimensional travel, space travel, and time travel. His genius is not just limited to theoretical knowledge, but he also has demonstrated a remarkable ability to create and invent groundbreaking technology. He has created dimension portals, starships, shrinking machines, and time machines that have revolutionized the scientific community. He is the inventor who created the unstable molecules costumes used by the Fantastic Four. These costumes are considered to be a remarkable technological advancement that no group of scientists has been able to replicate. Reed's ability to solve problems is not just restricted to complex scientific theories and experiments. He has also been shown to be able to solve mundane problems, such as inventing a cure that was hypersonic for acne that he sold to Revlon, which was used to fund the Fantastic Four's activities. Reed's patents are so valuable that he's able to bankroll the Fantastic Four Inc. without any undue financial stress. He has multiple doctoral-level degrees in theoretical and applied physics fields, and his IQ has been stated to be 267. He was even designated as a level 12 intellect by Tony Stark, which is the highest level of intelligence in the Marvel Universe. So how smart is Reed Richards? Let's just say that if you're ever in a trivia contest against him, you might as well give up before you even start. But more importantly, Reed is a reminder that intelligence is not just about having a high IQ or knowing a lot of facts. It's about using your brain power to make the world a better place. And in that sense, Reed Richards is one of the smartest people, or should I say, one of the smartest superheroes out there. Can scalpels or ordinary needles penetrate his skin? Mr. Fantastic's remarkable superpowers allow him to stretch and deform his body into various shapes and sizes, which makes him virtually invulnerable to most physical attacks. He can elongate his limbs to incredible lengths, flatten himself into a thin sheet, or even transform into a giant ball, among other things. One of the most impressive aspects of Mr. Fantastic's powers is his ability to control the malleability of his body with incredible precision. He can stretch his limbs to reach faraway objects or wrap them around an opponent to immobilize them. He can also compress his body into a denser form, which increases his strength and durability. Furthermore, he can absorb the impact of blows or gunfire by radically deforming his body, effectively reducing the force of the attack. However, despite his incredible powers, Mr. Fantastic is not completely invulnerable. Although his skin is virtually impervious to most forms of physical damage, he can relax his reflexive control over small areas of his body, making them vulnerable to penetration by sharp objects like scalpels or needles. Nonetheless, this weakness is relatively minor compared to the vast array of abilities that Mr. Fantastic possesses. Can he absorb the energy of large explosives? Mr. Fantastic's elastic superpowers are undeniably impressive, as we already know that he can stretch his limbs to great lengths and morph his body into various shapes. Well, guess what? He can even contain explosions. But can he really handle the heat of a big boom? The answer is yes, folks. He can envelop and absorb the energy of a sizable explosion, equivalent to 812 pounds of TNT, without going kaboom himself. However, let us not forget that even superheroes have their limits. Absorbing an explosion can be exhausting and put a significant strain on his body. So while he can contain a blast, he might need a good stretch after. But wait, there's more. After absorbing the impact of a ballistic projectile, Mr. Fantastic can expel it back at his attackers by flexing his body like a trampoline. Yes, you heard that right. He can literally bounce bullets back at his enemies. Talk about a superpower bounce back. Can he survive if his body is melted? Well, let us start by saying that this scenario presented in Darkhold Spider-Man issue number 1 is quite disturbing. It's not every day that we see one of Marvel's most beloved characters reduced to a puddle of grotesque flesh. However, the question remains, can Reed Richards survive if his body melted? The answer is not a straightforward one. On the one hand, it is clear that Reed's superpowers of elasticity have allowed him to maintain some semblance of shape despite his body's liquefaction. So, in a sense, he's surviving. But not in a way we traditionally think of it. Reed himself acknowledges that this liquid state frees up his mind to continue his work, suggesting that he's still conscious and able to think even though his body has melted. However, it is also clear that this state is not ideal for Reed. He looks truly awful, and his true natural state seems to be the grotesque puddle form he takes when he's not around other humans. So, while he may be surviving, it's not exactly a pleasant existence. The bigger question, of course, is whether Reed could survive if he was melted completely and permanently. It's tough to say for certain since Reed's powers are so unique, but it is unlikely. Without some form or shape or structure, it's hard to imagine how Reed could continue to function as a conscious being. It's possible that his mind could continue to exist in some form, but without a physical body, it's hard to say what it would look like or how it would work. In any case, it's probably safe to say that Reed would prefer not to be melted completely. While his current state may be tolerable, it's not exactly ideal. And it's clear that he still values his human form and identity. So, can Reed survive if his body's melted? Yes, in a sense, he can survive, but it's not a pleasant existence, and it's unlikely that he could survive if melted completely. Let's hope that the Marvel Universe never has to find out for sure. Mr. Fantastic can stretch, expand, or compress his entire body parts into any shape he can imagine. Mr. Fantastic, the man with a body that can do just about anything. He's like a human Stretch Armstrong, but with more style and less gross plastic smell. Flexible, pliable, and oh so malleable, Mr. Fantastic is the Swiss Army knife of superheroes. Need a trampoline to catch falling objects? Check. Want to turn your fist into hammers or body into a slingshot? No problem. And let's not forget his ability to flatten himself to the thickness of a sheet of paper or flow through tiny cracks like a liquid. Talk about versatility, but Mr. Fantastic's shape-changing abilities are not just about convenience and cool party tricks. He can also use them in combat, taking on the appearance of other men or turning his fists into weapons. And if he needs to make a quick escape, he can transform himself into a glider or a bouncing ball, leaping away from danger with ease. But perhaps the most impressive thing about Mr. Fantastic's shape-shifting powers is his ability to imagine and create complex geometric shapes. He can compress his body into a sphere, a cylinder, a cube, or even a toroid. That's right, a toroid. I had to look that one up too. It's like a donut, but more mathy. And if he needs to get through a locked door, no problem. Mr. Fantastic can turn his fingers into keys and pop that sucker open in no time. It's like having a locksmith on hand at all times. But let's not forget the practical applications of his abilities. Need a canopy or a parachute? Mr. Fantastic's got you covered. Literally. He can extend his body in two directions, creating a canopy or a parachute that can support the weight of multiple people. And if you're falling from a great height, don't worry. Mr. Fantastic can transform his elastic form into a trampoline or other cushion-like object, safely catching you before you hit the ground. Another impressive thing about Mr. Fantastic's shape-changing abilities is his ability to generate wind. With just a flick of his wrist, he can transform his hand into fans, creating gusts of wind that can knock down buildings or blow away bad guys.
Yes, these are my lips.
Does he have any romantic relationships? Can he reproduce? Mr. Fantastic, the stretchy genius of the Fantastic Four. As a superhero, he faces his fair share of challenges, but what about matters of the heart? Well, Reed Richards has been in a long-standing relationship with Sue Storm, aka the Invisible Woman, for quite some time. The two have been together since their debut in 1961, and their relationship has weathered many storms. However, when it comes to reproduction, things get a bit tricky. Susan Richards had difficulties giving birth due to the radiation that gave her and Reed their powers. Her blood cells carried a strange form of energy that threatened both her and the baby's lives. Reed had to venture into the negative zone to find a way to save his wife and unborn son. With the help of the cosmic control rod, Reed was able to bring the energy in Susan's blood under control, and she gave birth to a healthy son, Franklin. But here's the twist. Franklin was born a mutant, and his powers began manifesting at a very early age. While this may seem like a blessing, it also posed a grave danger, as Franklin's powers were too vast for a child to control. Reed had to use a device to render Franklin comatose, which prevented him from releasing enough psionic energy to destroy all life on Earth. So, to answer that question, yes, Mr. Fantastic has a romantic relationship with Sue Storm, and they do have a son, Franklin. However, their journey to parenthood was not without its challenges, and their son's mutant abilities posed a significant threat to humanity. Nonetheless, Reed and Sue have proven time and time again that their relationship can withstand the obstacles thrown their way. They have shown that superhero relationships can be more than just flings and can be fantastic in every sense of the word. Is he immortal? No one but his knowledge is killing him. Is Mr. Fantastic immortal? Well, that's a complex question. While Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic, has been known to possess a vast array of superhuman abilities, which include his near-infinite intelligence and stretching powers, immortality is not one of them. In the pages of Fantastic Four, issue number 40, he reveals that his latest transformation is actively killing him. Richards has taken on the impossible new powers that could save reality as we know it. But no human mind has ever been able to withstand the knowledge of the Watchers, and the very same sight that has led them to the Macran crystal has left them with just a 3-day lifespan. So, why did he say that knowledge is killing him? Well, Reed Richards is one of the Marvel Universe's foremost intellects and is always seeking knowledge and understanding. However, in this case, he has taken on more than any human mind can handle, and it is slowly killing him. In his quest to save the universe, he has reached a point where his vast intelligence is becoming more of a curse than a blessing. It's a reminder that even the most brilliant minds can be limited by their own mortality. Speaking of mortality, the recent Doctor Strange 2 movie saw the shocking and gruesome death of Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige himself came up with the idea for Richards' death, which involves stretching and spaghetti-like dismemberment, inspired by Play-Doh. While the VFX team wanted to capture a realistic look for the death scene, they were careful not to cross the boundaries of the film's PG-13 rating. This death opens up a power vacuum in the Marvel Universe, which leaves a significant gap that could be exploited by new threats. What is his weakness? As a superhero, Mr. Fantastic's power is his ability to stretch and contort his body in various ways. However, as a member of the Fantastic Four, his weakness lies in their power synergism. The original members of the Fantastic Four, Mr. Fantastic, the Invisible Woman, the Human Torch, and the Thing, are all connected to each other and act as conduits of power for each other. If they spend too much time separated from each other, their power levels begin to decline gradually. Prolonged periods cut off from each other in other universes can lead to a significant decrease in their powers, and if they spend enough time apart, they can eventually become powerless. This weakness is a significant vulnerability for the Fantastic Four, as it means that they are only as strong as their ability to work together. It also means that they must be careful when venturing into other universes or dimensions. However, it is also this power synergism that makes the Fantastic Four such a great team. Their abilities complement each other, and they are able to work together seamlessly to overcome even the most challenging of foes. It's this connection that allows them to save the world time and time again, and it remains the foundation of their strength as a team.
Simulation. Why haven't you beaten me yet?
Marvelous verdict. And there you have it, folks, the anatomy of Mr. Fantastic unraveled before our very eyes. We have explored the science behind his incredible abilities, from the unique structure of his skin and bones to the incredible strength of his muscles. So whether you're a fan of Fantastic Four or just someone who appreciates the power of imagination, we hope this video has inspired you to think outside the box and explore the limits of what you can achieve. So, until next time, keep stretching your mind and pushing the limits of what you thought was possible. Who knows, maybe one day you'll be just as fantastic as Mr. Fantastic himself. Let us know in the comments below what you think about his abilities. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button on your way out. Have a good one, folks.
We have to stop them from reaching the geothermal extractor.